You may have noticed different opinions about Elon Musk, but the fact that he is today the main promoter of many high-tech areas is undeniable. For the 50th anniversary of the wacky genius, billionaire, and Twitter star, we have collected for you all the significant news of Elon's projects and prepared a bonus, an unusual fact from his biography. So, stick around to the end. Let's go! The Starlink division of SpaceX promises to cover the entire world with internet by September. In all, Starlink has successfully deployed about 1,800 satellites so far, and once they reach their orbit, there will be global internet coverage. However, the company will then need to obtain regulatory approval, and for now, the internet from Elon Musk is available only in a few restricted areas. Satellites work like repeaters, connecting the user to the ground-based station. And therefore, in order to access the internet via Starlink, you need to be no further than 1,000 kilometers from the base station. In this case, when you use internet via Starlink, you are in contact with a single satellite for only a few minutes, no longer than 4 minutes and 8 seconds. Then, it disappears over the horizon and you switch to the next one. Last November, SpaceX engineers were able to double the data transfer rate simply by optimizing this switching process. By the way, a new Starlink internet speed record was recently recorded. The figure of 649 megabits per second was recorded in its Twitter blog from Germany. It's more than 100 megabits per second higher than the previous record speed held of Elon Musk in the United States. Due to the high speed, the latency has increased to about 56 milliseconds. This is not enough for efficient data transmission during video conferencing and online gaming. In the future, Starlink will be able to realize the dream of millions to use satellite internet directly from a smartphone. Construction of the Starlink network is expected to be completed by the end of 2027, and as the number of satellites increases, the cost of devices, connections, and monthly subscription fees will decrease. The prospects of Starlink have been evaluated by Google, their cloud division. The cloud division of Google announced the victory in the tender and conclusion of a deal with SpaceX. Google will provide access to its own fiber optic network, which is one of the largest in the world. The signal from the Starlink satellite will descend to Earth and then go to the servers via the fiber optic cables of Google, and SpaceX will place its ground-based stations in data centers owned by Google. Starlink will also develop a new product for fast Wi-Fi on-board aircraft. The company will change the design of its antennas and satellites to use them for airline communications. It's also known that the next generation of Starlink products will have a special inter-satellite link to provide aircrafts with internet over the remote parts of the ocean. And SpaceX will begin assembling satellites in Lithuania. Last week, the company Starlink Lithuania was registered there. As far as SpaceX news, recently Elon renamed himself Elon Musk II in Twitter and showed two spacecrafts, Starship SN-15 and Starship SN-16. Musk added that SpaceX may use the Starship SN-16 spacecraft in hypersonic flight tests. With all of that said, the SN-15, which made a successful flight in early May, will obviously no longer take off because its engines have been dismantled and the rocket itself has been rolled off the takeoff pad to a site that will probably become an open-air SpaceX museum. Judging by the fact that the SN-16 ended up next to SN-15, it's not going to fly anytime soon. So what's Elon planning today? The orbital flight promised by the entrepreneur at the beginning of July is definitely not going to happen. Starship SN-20, which will make this historic flight, has not yet reached the stage of assembly, although many of the components of the rocket have already been made. The 70-meter Super Heavy BN-3 rocket, which will lift the 50-meter SN-20 into the air, has also not yet passed any tests, although Musk has already published footage of the rocket carrier assembly. Remember that during the flight, the Super Heavy stage of the launch vehicle will launch Starship from SpaceX facilities in Boca Chica, will separate from the main spacecraft in about 3 minutes, and after 5 minutes, the booster stage will land in the Gulf of Mexico about 30 kilometers from the coast. The upper stage of the Starship will continue in orbit, nearly completing a complete orbit around Earth, and in 90 minutes will make a targeted landing about 100 kilometers off the northwest coast of Kauai, the state's northernmost island. The maximum flight altitude will be 115 kilometers, which is just above the boundary between the Earth's atmosphere and space. Interestingly, starting next year, Starship and Falcon 9 will be able to launch from the Deimos and Phobos ocean spaceports. These are former oil rigs that SpaceX bought and is now modifying to suit their needs. The U.S. Department of Defense has authorized the use of used Falcon 9 first stages to launch its satellites. The rockets delivered a third-generation GPS satellite, manufactured by Lockheed Martin, into orbit. It is the fifth satellite in a series of upgraded satellites for the GPS navigation system, capable of transmitting signals with higher power, more resistant to interference, and supporting additional frequency ranges. In total, the military plans to launch 10 of these satellites into orbit. And by the way, if you want to work on one of Elon's companies, don't miss the Tesla AI Day event, which will take place this summer. It's going to highlight Tesla's progress in software and hardware for artificial intelligence systems. However, the goal of the venture, according to Musk, is to find talent in the field of artificial intelligence. On other projects, Elon is considering the possibility of lowering freight traffic underground. His Boring Company has already developed the concept of a 2-lane tunnel with a diameter of 6.4 meters for freight transportation. It is assumed that the containers as high as 3 meters will be transported on a special platform powered by batteries. But the most grandiose news lately comes from the company of Tesla. For example, Musk recently spoke about the new Tesla Model S Plaid electric motor, the fastest production electric car, about which we will talk a little later. The new incredibly compact and powerful engine features a carbon-coated rotor. Since the carbon and copper have very different thermal expansion rates, it's necessary to wrap the engine with extremely high tension, and this is very difficult to do. Tesla engineers even had to build a new production machine, and the result is a highly efficient compact engine that can be lifted by hand but can accelerate a 2-ton car to 100 kilometers per hour in just 2 seconds. Elon noted that his company also has several ideas to further increase the torque and top speed for the new Roadster, which should go into production in 2022. As for the Tesla Model S Plaid itself, the car has several major upgrades and advantages over its competitors at once. The car can really accelerate to 100 kilometers per hour in 2 seconds, but it needs to be thoroughly prepared for that. And the speed up to 320 kilometers per hour and a range on a single charge up to 630 kilometers is undeniable. Additionally, to drive that distance, it can be done on a charge of just 15 minutes. There are 2 touchscreens in the cabin to control the car's systems and several charging modules for smartphones and other devices. The front 17-inch display with a resolution of 2200 by 1300 is suitable for movies and games, with graphics comparable to PlayStation 5. And 22 speakers provide the surround sound effect. As a demonstration of the capabilities of the system, at the presentation, with its help, ran a game Cyberpunk 2077 with a frequency of 60 frames per second. In addition, the car, according to Musk, is safer than Volvo. Thanks to the shifted center of gravity due to the batteries, the car has a lower risk of tipping over. It's also further reinforced to survive a head-on collision. The cost of this car is about $130,000, or 9.3 million rubles. Customers have already received 25 of these, and within a week they plan to deliver a few hundred more. In theory, there was also supposed to be a version of the Plaid Plus for $150,000 with a range of 840 kilometers, but that production was canceled. An interesting experiment to check the safety of Tesla was conducted by the American blogger TechRax. First, he smashed the screen of the electric car with a sledgehammer while driving. It turned out, by the way, not from the first blow, and the screen worked correctly until the last one. Then the blogger tore the screen off, but the car kept on driving. To replace the screen, the blogger will have to pay $1,500. By the way, Tesla makes 2 of the 3 most American-made cars in the world. The American-made index is ranked by Cars.com magazine. It evaluates the place of assembly, the percentage of American components, the origin of the engine, the origin of the transmission, and the labor force in the United States. The Tesla Model 3 sedan was ranked first, the Mustang Mach-E was ranked second, and the Tesla Model Y compact crossover was ranked third. And yes, the Tesla Model 3 is still the best-selling electric car in the world. It sold more than 365,000 units in 2020, nearly 250,000 more than its closest rival. The number of Tesla charging stations is also growing. Thus, the company recently introduced the Supercharger route, which stretches for more than 5,000 kilometers along the Chinese Silk Road. It includes 27 charging stations. Eventually, Musk wants to build a route from Shanghai to London at 9.5 thousand kilometers long. This will require filling gaps in Central Asia, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe. And the strangest Tesla news was the registration of the company's stylized logo with plates. It seems Musk is getting ready to open a chain of fast food restaurants. At least the application to the US Patent and Trademark Office mentions the restaurant business, self-service, takeout, and so on. Whether all the plans of Elon Musk are destined to come true, time will tell, especially since the entrepreneur declared war on the famous hacker group Anonymous, which did not like the effective tweets of the entrepreneur on Bitcoin exchange rates. Judging by Musk's response, he didn't take the threat seriously. Apparently, he is extremely confident in the security of his company's servers. Did you know that Elon runs a school at the SpaceX headquarters called Ad Astra, which means to the stars in Latin, where his children and the children of some SpaceX employees attend? Ad Astra is supposed to provide children with an education that exceeds traditional school performance in all relevant subjects through a unique project-based learning experience. At the school, children work together in teams with a strong emphasis on math, science, engineering, and ethics with no grading system. How do you feel about Elon Musk? Let us know down in the comments. Like this video, share it, and subscribe to the Pro Robot channel.